Good afternoon and welcome to the Chapter 3 lecture. Again, if you would like to see these slides individually, you can do so. They are in your Module 1 section, Chapter 3. So this is about Chapter 3, listening. The first distinction we need to make sure that we make is the distinction between hearing and listening. Hearing is the involuntary, physical process of acknowledging sound. So what does that mean? It means that we hear that a sound is occurring, right? It's a physical process. It is involuntary, which means we don't control it, right? You don't luckily have to tell your ears, time to listen, turn on, and then turn off, right? They're always on, and you just acknowledge sound exists. That's different than listening, and you'll note the distinction. Listening is an active, mental process of interpreting sound. So in listening, it's active. You have to be thinking about it. You're connected to it. It is voluntary, meaning you have to be paying attention to what's going on. It is mental and not a always existing idea. Right? It's not just a physical process, as a mental process. And you're interpreting the sounds for their actual meaning. It's a much more complex question. There are 4 ways that we listen, and you'll note the roots. The first is appreciative, root word appreciate. This is listening to like. So just remember it that way. So it's when you like something, you're listening for your enjoyment. Music would be a great example. The second is emphatic, root word empathy. This is to listen for someone else. Example, this is when you are listening for someone else's benefit. So for example, your friend might have a bad day, they want to communicate to you about it, and you might not actually even know some of the people that they're talking about or be involved in situations, but you're listening so that they can vent and that they can feel better. The third is critical, root word critique. This is to listen for information, hopefully what you're doing now. And discriminative, root word discriminate, which again has a negative connotation, but discriminate by definition only means to set apart. This is when you are setting apart other conversations or other distractions to really focus and hone in on a singular conversation. The example that you see in the picture there of the multiple conversations in a loud and large cafeteria is good, because you're trying to discriminate against all of the other background noise, and you're trying to focus in on one individual conversation. And that narrowing is discriminative. There are filters that distort listening. These are very similar to Chapter 1 in the barriers. These barriers can be the same types of barriers from Chapter 1. If you need those notes, go back to the Chapter 1 lecture. Life experience, beliefs and values, and physical condition can all be things that distort the ability to listen. The only one that's really specifically unique and distinct from the communication barriers is the physical condition. And this is because the ability to hear is a prerequisite to being able to listen. So again, you have to be able to hear or acknowledge the sounds that are existing in that involuntary physical process before you can interpret for meaning in the mental active process. There are also some reasons we tune out, and for the simplicity of your slides, we put them on just one. So these are the responsibilities of a listener. Your test may also ask you, what are some examples of being a poor listener? They would just be the inverse or the opposite of this slide. So to be open-minded, listen for new ideas, sitting up and taking notes, relating information to personal experiences, not thinking ahead, and not stereotyping are all ways in which we can be physically responsible and active in the process of being a good listener. And again, if you need the opposite, being closed-minded, not listening, sleeping, not relating, thinking ahead, and stereotyping would be those opposites, which you might be reminded of during the review process. So again, that should hopefully sort of get you thinking about listening, and any more information you need will be in your text. Have a good day.